All right, I was going to do this video much later, but since I'm leaving here in about 2 weeks, I decided to do it before autumn really kicked in. So I'm talking about one of my favorite resins today. It's Benzoin. Are you guys a fan of Benzoin in fragrances? So the first time I discovered Benzoin was researching Guerlain fragrances. And there's a fragrance called Bois d'Harmonie, and that fragrance sadly recently gotten discontinued, although I think it's been around 2 years. But it's been one of my favorite fragrances. In fact, it was one of my very first L'Art et la Métier collection fragrances. This is my second bottle. I've gone through a whole bottle before. So I've got Bois d'Harmonie. It's right there. Well, that way, sorry. So, and also we have it in the updated L'Art et la Métier collection fragrances. And today I'm also going to do an unboxing of a vintage Guerlain Bois d'Harmonie as well. And I'm hoping it's not the pump bottle, because I really have a hard time wearing fragrances with that most annoying bottle sprayer. But that's when I first discovered Benzoin. Benzoin is a great resin. It's sweet and vanillic, and it's a great addition to amber fragrances. Being a lover of amber, I started researching Benzoin in fragrances. So really an awesome note, and it deserves to be highlighted here. And I've got them broken down into various categories. But I do want to point this out as well. I think the introduction of Benzoin also was the Papier d'Harmonie. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Papier d'Harmonie. Basically stands for Armenian paper. So these are sold at the pharmacies in France, and I can't remember which one's I think this one's the original. It's called Tradition. And from what I was told, there's two others. This one's the other. And then there's also one that's Rose that I've heard Francis Kirkjan scented them. But it's basically Benzoin as a little incense strip, and you break it off from the perforation, and you kind of do like a little accordion situation with it, and you put it in a glass plate, light it up, burn, blow it out, and let it burn slowly, and it really nicely scents the bathroom or whatever area of the house you want to scent with this sweet resinous smell, which to me is awesome. That's why I fell in love with Bois d'Harmonie, and I consider it one of the best Benzoin fragrances. Sadly, it is discontinued. I don't know what we're going to do about it, but Guerlain decided to discontinue it. I guess it wasn't selling, so they're bringing out some more dud fragrances, and they're getting rid of some of the best ones. At least to me, this is one of the best. And so I'm highlighting it here today to start this video off. Let's quickly open this up. So we recently did Setfest SF, and there was an attendee there who apparently follows me and heard that I was looking for a bottle. So we're doing a trade, and she sent me this. And we're doing a trade for Angelo's Creations Olfactives fragrance collaboration that I've done. So thank you, Wilma, for sending this to me. And it looks like it is the pump sprayer, but it also has the regular sprayer. So yes, that's what happened. When I first bought this, it was around 2013. It came with this like this, and it came with that. Later, they attached it, and it was permanently like that. It didn't come with the option to do this sprayer, but then later they re-released it like this with the sprayer stuck on it, and then after that they moved it into this right here, the current L'Art et la Métier collection fragrances bottles. But I'm so happy about this. Big fan of this fragrance. One of the best from Guerlain when I was first starting out with fragrances, and I ended up liking or loving several of these fragrances from the L'Art et la Métier collection in 2013. Most importantly, this Angélique Noir Spirituous Double Vanille, which is also on this list. Tonka Imperial, Cuir Beluga, Erie Ganache. Those were like some amazing scents. So we have the original Bois d'Harmonie again. I don't know what year this is, so I'll have to do some research, but we can see. but it's an awesome scent. Let me know if you guys are fans of this fragrance. Ooh. Oh, wow. Yeah. So to me, the benzoin resin has the sweetness, but it also has a smoky side as well. And to me, it's such a unique, such a unique resin because I like sweet fragrances. Oh man, this smells so good. That version is so good. Let's see if it's similar to this version in this bottle, which was moved here, I think around 2021 or 2022, somewhere around there. It's similar. Oh wow, this is super amazing. It really literally smells like these Papier d'Harmonie papers. If you ever go to France, and those of you that live in France probably already have access to these, it's in the pharmacies. Whenever I go, I buy about 5 or 10 of them and bring them back. They make nice little gifts. But I think they've basically captured the smell of, I think, the tradition into the perfume form. Such an awesome scent. So we're starting off with this, the fact that this is what got me into benzoin. If you can hunt down a bottle of Bois d'Harmonie, I highly recommend it. Bois d'Harmonie means like Armenian wood, and then Papier d'Harmonie is these papers. So I think the inspiration is definitely on point there. Let's quickly talk a little bit about some more information about benzoin. So yeah, it's a resin. It's kind of like frankincense. You've got the frankincense or olibanum. You've got myrrh, which is another deep dive I should do in the near future. Most likely we'll do that after I get back. And then you've got the benzoin. These three resins, so different. Although myrrh and benzoin somewhat similar and different, and then the frankincense is not sweet at all. It's a different, unique smell. It smells like church to me because I remember it from church. That's where I first smelled it, actually. And it can get smoky once lit up. But very unique resins, and I really appreciate these in fragrances because I really love ambers, and they do make the amber accord, which what they do is combine a lot of times the benzoin with vanilla and labdanum. Sometimes they throw in olibanum, sometimes they throw in myrrh to create that very ambery experience. And also sometimes they combine benzoin and labdanum, vanilla with patchouli to create that chocolate cakey effect. So it's an awesome resin. If you are into resinous fragrances, into ambers, you should definitely check out this note and discover it because I do highly recommend it. So we've discussed Bois d'Harmonie and Papier d'Harmonie and the actual resin. Let's get started with the list now. So I've got the fragrances broken down into various categories, and then we're going to talk about the benchmark benzoin fragrances first. And there's 7 of them here in this section. We're starting off with AFFINESSENCE Vanille Benjoin. Great fragrance with the benzoin note as a highlight note combined with vanilla. And this is part of the base notes collection, meaning notes are highlighted that normally are featured in the base notes. And benzoin is typically found in the base notes. It's a very dense, heavy note. So it always ends up in the base. Although I do see it up. So I think perfumers are playing tricks and they do move the note around. I do see it up at the top, even at the top notes. But generally, it's in the base notes. But here we have something very soft and creamy against the resinous, sweet, lightly smoky experience with the vanilla and the benzoin. And for me, as I was saying, it's great to add it to vanilla. And this is benzoin and vanilla together. It's Vanille Benjoin. And to me, they do complement one another beautifully. So you end up experiencing a vanillic amber resin fragrance here. It might be a bit two-dimensional, might be a bit simplistic, might be a bit linear, because, you know, we are focusing on the base notes and basically they're highlighting base notes. Most likely they have some top notes and heart notes as well, but the focus is the base notes. And In this case, it's vanilla and benzoin or Benjoin. And they do, I think they have some woody notes in this as well to give it some depth, further depth. But for me, it does come off linear, but it's a great smelling fragrance. So that's Vanille Benjoin from the house of AFFINESSENCE. Let me know if you're familiar with that. Let's move on to the house of Amouage. It's material created by Cécile Zarokian. A great benzoin-focused amber fragrance with vanillic notes as well. I feel like vanilla and benzoin together are match made in heaven. They work wonderfully together. And this is an amber lover's dream come true. It's super resinous, super balsamic, smoky, spicy, vanillic, and of course resinous. It's very warm, very enveloping. There's also, I think, patchouli here, so there's a spicy edge as well, but super intense, wonderful amber, perfect for like winter wear. But to me, it's a fragrance that I enjoy all year round. There is something also a little bit fresh. There's a freshness, so most likely the fragrance has some fresher notes up top. It comes off quite peppery though. So if you like the idea of a peppery amber, check that out. I highly recommend it. So next, we're going to the house of Diptyque, one of my favorite benzoin fragrances. It was originally the 3 benzoin fragrances that I would recommend all the time. Bois de Harmonie, Benjoin 19 from LABO, and then Benjoin Bohème from Diptyque, which initially started in a bottle like this. Most gorgeous bottle. And then they moved it recently. It's been about 2 years into the black bottles. I'll show you in a bit. So for me, Benjoin Bohème was a benzoin lover's dream come true. I really loved it. It also featured patchouli in here and some other resins. It didn't come off sickly sweet. It's for sure an amber, but there's something golden about it and kind of enveloping, sweet, spicy, but not super gourmand-esque sweet, but one of my favorites. I really, really love this. I've gone through many bottles, and when we heard that, it's funny because also there was a time when it was really hard to find this bottle because it was kind of in the process of transitioning to the other bottle, and there were some stores that were getting it. People were asking me where to get it. I mean, it's a great scent. I wouldn't say it's one of the beastliest, but to me, it smells so fantastic. Really, really awesome. And the thing is also, this fragrance kickstarted this collection. And then there came like, what, 4 or 5 more fragrances in this collection? And then all of those disappeared. And then they kept the original, this one, the Benjoin Bohème. Finally, I think they decided to just move it. And basically what they did was gave us a 75 ml bottle. And I'll show you in a minute after I put this away. So it downsized from a 100 ml bottle in this collection. It's like that. I guess it's part of the 34 Boulevard Saint-Germain collection, but it's totally its unique fragrance. And then it went into this. And I thought that this was maybe a little bit light. I think by macerating, it's kind of, intensified a little bit. So it's gone into this collection with that gold plate label. Still the same smell. It just felt like it was a bit light, but it's right now smelling and acting like it was. But it's super gorgeous. Benzoin is awesome. It's a great note. This is a perfect video for you to, get inspiration for fragrances for the autumn. Some of these fragrances are going to be perfect for autumn and winter. But if you're looking for Benjoin Bohème from Diptyque, if you can find it in this bottle, I highly recommend you take advantage of that because it's a 100 ml bottle. Although I think people might have jacked up the price on that if you can find it. Otherwise, you're going to find it in this bottle. And this fragrance, the fact that it's in this gold label, it might not be selling everywhere. Like Nordstrom sells Diptyque, but I don't think Nordstrom carries every single Diptyque. So this might be kind of a boutique exclusive, which is disappointing. I mean, I think the original has always been a boutique exclusive. I don't think it's ever been at Nordstrom or places that sell Diptyque fragrances. But that's an awesome Benzoin fragrance. Definitely worth checking out. Let's move on to Histoire de Parfum Ambre 114. And even though this isn't full-on amber fragrance, I put it in here because it does have a pretty prominent benzoin feature. But this to me smells like your traditional amber resin balsamic fragrance with ambery notes. It could feature labdanum. There's benzoin, most likely there's some frankincense. There's spices, there's aromatics. It's quite powdery. It's you know, got this kind of like warm glow. It's syrupy, but not super wet. There's like a dryness, a powdery effect happening with that kind of syrupy molassesy texture. But really awesome scent, really gorgeous. It's highlighting the benzoin, but more in a amber direction. So there's a little bit of a reminder of the Maître Parfumeur Gantier's Ambre Perso, which I compared. Ambre Perso doesn't feature the benzoin note according to my research, but this one does, and it's a pretty prominent feature. Super awesome scent though. Ambre 114. Let me know if you're a fan of this one. And let me know if you guys get similarities to the Maître Parfumeur Gantier Ambre Perso. Then we've got this one from the house of LABO. This was my second benzoin focused fragrance purchase, and it's a exclusive. It's a city exclusive, which if you're a fan of the city exclusives, you can take advantage of them like around the corner here, because September is when they start selling these everywhere. This is the Moscow city exclusive, so which means you'd have to travel to Moscow to get it outside of September. But during the month of September, you can buy them at all the LABO boutiques. To me, this is a typical Le Labo DNA, and it seems to be a little bit more like Gaillac focused. I can smell Gaillac here. There's a certain resinous woody texture that is here. There's also light smoky, there's also like frankincense like notes, but it's not super strong. So you can notice it. You can notice the smokiness, the resinous qualities of that smoky resin, but it's all wrapped up with this gorgeous, sweet, syrupy, vanillic resin. I would say Benjoin 19 and Benjoin Bohème are closer to one another compared to Bois d'Harmonie, which is, I think, more Guerlain-esque, more vanillic. But super awesome scents. Well, definitely one of my favorite Le Labo City exclusives. I bought that in 2017, as you can see right there, when fragrances were not that expensive. I mean, this was already pretty expensive at that time, but I mean, prices have gone way up. But the thing is, I've had it for almost 10 years. It still smells great today because it's the kind of fragrance it is. If this was a citrus focused, it would probably, if I kept it bad, it probably would have turned, but it's all resins and woods and spices and musks. It smells wonderful. Really, really great fragrance. All right, and then this is a fairly new one that I want to highlight here, and this is a benzoin balm. And one of my latest loves, and you've got to get your nose on this one if you can. This is from the brand of ORIZA LEGRAND. This is Le Regent. It's so gorgeous. Super benzoin. I think this is more like a toss-up between, something like the Guerlain and Benjoin Bohème. So it's sweet, it's spicy, it's syrupy, it's powdery, and of course amber resins together, vanillic, but not overly sweet, but there's sweetness there. So it just really does remind me like a combo of the Bois d'Harmonie and the Benjoin Bohème together. Really gorgeous fragrance. There's a softness and elegance about it. It's not super loud and intense. So it smells fantastic when you're putting it against your nose here and on skin. I'm actually wearing it right now. It smells really gorgeous. I think it gets more powdery on the skin as it's drying down. But that is gorgeous. I mean, the house of ORIZA LEGRAND is definitely one of my favorite houses. I'm really impressed with their quality and their fragrances. This is definitely a brand new love. You've got to get your nose on it if you're a fan of Benzoin, if you're a fan of Ambre, if you're into ORIZA LEGRAND fragrances. Highly, highly recommend that one for you to check out. All right, we're switching categories next. We've done the first category of the benchmark Benzoin fragrances. Now we're going to talk about the Ambre Benzoin fragrances. And the thing is, the ones that we just spoke about could have totally fit in this category as well. I kind of wanted to separate them. So we're starting off with ANNICK GOUTAL, or GOUTAL Paris's Ambre Fétiche. So Ambre Fétiche I discovered around 2013. This to me is an amber, but it does kind of go into a smoky, I would say smoky resinous direction. But in the end, it's an amber that was very popular for a while. I think people regarded this fragrance as a quality offering from the house. And to this day, it still smells great. It does go quite ambery, quite resinous, but there is an edge of smoke in here. And there's also a little bit of light animalics too. It's a little bit musky. So it's a lot of resins, it's powdery, it's sweet, it's vanillic, for sure, lots of resins, as I said. There's this little bit of smoke in there. There's like a little bit of a charred quality, which is giving me that smokiness. But it's funny, I hadn't tested this out for a long time. I was kind of bored of it, but my bottle has aged quite a bit. It's smelling quite gorgeous. So I just read yesterday, I think I featured ANNICK GOUTAL in a video recently, and I had to look it up. I was like, some comments came in about the brand. So the brand has been purchased by PARFUMS, who is a distributor for Van Cleef & Arpels, and I always forget the name of their brands. I think Montclair is under them. I think Lacoste is under them. And a few other somewhat smaller profile brands. And apparently they're relaunching ANNICK GOUTAL. I'm not sure if they're relaunching in the States, but ANNICK GOUTAL, I guess, is relaunching because they were owned by a company called Amore Pacific from Korea. So apparently PARFUMS is taking it back to its roots. And so we'll see what they do with it. I'm excited because ANNICK GOUTAL is one of my very first niche perfume brand loves. I mean, before there was such a thing as niche, because it was a brand that a woman by the name of ANNICK GOUTAL launched, and it was not part of a clothing, car, jewelry associated brand. It was just perfumes. And the brand launched, I think, in the early 80s, very early 80s. And the one people know about is Eau d'Adrienne, which is a cologne-esque citrus with lemon. But the brand has some great fragrances. So let's see what PARFUMS does with the brand. I'm kind of cautious because the brand has gone through a lot of different hands. And so I'm hoping that PARFUMS takes good care of the brand and relaunches it in a way it's supposed to be. All right, we've gone to the house of Bon Parfumeur. This is 403 Myrrh Shadow. Quinton Beige creation, really awesome. And for me, this is an amber, for sure. And it's combining the myrrh, it's Myrrh Shadow, and benzoin together. So this one, it's funny, with myrrh as a note, and sometimes benzoin as well, it does create a slight fizzy cola-esque vibe. And this one gives me that quite a bit. But this also kind of reminds me of Quinton's creation for the Chloe brand. Do I see a Chloe fragrance up here? One of these fragrances. He's got a vanilla for one of this brand's fragrances. It reminds me of that a little bit. The vanilla over there is lighter. This is an extract, obviously. But there is something green going through it. But what I really love about it is spicy, lightly smoky. That greenness really comes and shines. It's vanillic, but also very resinous. And I love the combo of the myrrh and the benzoin together. Creates a very sexy experience. I love that fragrance. It's super, super awesome. To me, it's also not typical of what Quinton does. I mean, when I'm thinking of Ganymede, this is not like Ganymede. Although he might be using some ingredients that he uses in Ganymede, but again, this is resinous, ambery, vanillic, syrupy. And remember, green. There's a light greenness running throughout it, which really, really is an awesome contrast. Myrrh Shadow 403. Let me know if you're a fan. I absolutely love that fragrance. We're moving on to the house of Boucheron next. This is Ambre d'Alexandrie. This collection is fairly inexpensive. I would highly recommend you take advantage of these fragrances. This one and the next one, I'll let you know the next one as well. This is, to me, a little bit like Wajan. So there's a little bit of that kind of honeyed amber thing happening, which gives me that kind of a reminder of something like Wajan, Ambre Narguilé, and things like that. But there's a lot of tonka in here. I think, I feel like I'm picking up a lot of tonka against a very resinous amber along the way with some syrupy honey touches as well. It's almost like a gourmand, but not quite yet. But for sure, loads of gourmand qualities in this. I feel like there's also some floral notes. There might be a little bit of rose in this. It is coming off a little bit rosy, so it does add a fresh layer to the mix. But super solid. It's an alternative to Wajan if you're looking for something like Wajan, but you've worn Wajan too much. Even something like Angel's Share, if you're looking for an alternative, that you can definitely try this. Ambre d'Alexandrie from the house of Boucheron jewelry house. And then we're going to another jewelry house. It's the house of Chopard. This is Orange Mauresque. Now we're talking about a freshie here, but it's meshed with the Benzoin. So it's kind of orangey, fresh, citrusy up top. And eventually it gets warm, ambery, resinous in the base. Ah, this is so good. I love those kind of contrasts. Warmth, freshness, greenness, citrusy tartness with that warmth and ambery glow in the base, the resinous, syrupy, powdery amber. Wow, this is super good. Super, super good. It is acting a little bit like fragrances like Kobe, maybe a little bit from Xerjoff. What's the similar fragrance from Ramon Monagal? I'm forgetting the name now. I have it here and I'm drawing a blank. Something like that, because it's kind of very citrusy and fresh and floral, citrus floral, and then it gets warm and ambery. Not quite like Love Don't Be Shy, because it's not going vanillic gourmand. It's just more amber. But super gorgeous. That is amazing. That is super, super awesome. I think this is Alberto Moria's creation. So that's Orange Mauresque from the house of Chopard. Let me know if you guys are familiar with that. You can probably find great discounts on that one as well. Let's move on to the house of Guerlain. This is Ambre SAMAR. Gorgeous bottle, right? This is actually quite good for Guerlain. Lately, I'm not really loving the Guerlain fragrances. I really love the Shalimar L'Essence, but the tobacco one that came out in this bottle, I didn't care for. The new L'Heure Bleu that they're coming out for, I don't really care for. Sorry, I don't even know if I just smelled it and I was like, there's a marine notes with L'Heure Bleu. And L'Heure Bleu, which I have here, is one of my all-time favorite Shalimars. Why do they have marine added to it? What the heck? But here, it's an amber. It's very resinous, but also very Middle Eastern. I feel like there's saffron. There's rose here. It's a bit oudi. So it's a bit more complex than just straightforward ambery experience. And the name is right, because it's Ambre Samar, and it's a very Middle Eastern name. And you can smell a super Middle Eastern style offering here. And it's red, so it comes off kind of rosy, you know, saffron-y and things like that. So it's kind of like has a red hots kind of experience. But it goes fully ambery and resinous in the dry down with that benzoin. Beautiful bottle, I should say. Back to back, we've got some Christmas colors going on here. All right, next, a brand called La Destination. This is La Réunion. So they're talking about the island of Réunion. And, oh wait, I think it's in Madagascar. It's in Madagascar. So it's where vanilla comes from. And this is a vanilla amber resin balm. So yeah, this makes me happy. It's super cozy. It's very, very enveloping. It's creamy. It's amber resinous. But there is something creamy marshmallowy happening in there. So it's like taking vanilla and, you know, like creamed marshmallows. It's kind of sticky and you're kind of blending vanilla in it. So it's, you know, smoothing out. The color's kind of changing and it's just kind of becoming one, but it's still kind of sticky and you can like, it's elasticy. So there's that kind of a smoothness here when you're smelling it. But it's vanilla, it's cooking vanilla. It smells like cooking vanilla for sure. But again, it has that kind of creamy texture, sticky, creamy, velvety, smooth. It is so yummy. It's so delicious. Highlighting the vanilla, but very resinous and ambery in the base from the benzoin. Yum. Super yum. You guys familiar with this house? Really, really awesome scent, by the way. All right, next going to the house of Les Eaux Primordiales. This is Ambre Superfluid. Yeah, I checked the Supermassive Amber. There's no claim that there's benzoin in that one. Probably it is. I decided to leave it off. Here, apparently this is one of the big popular fragrances from the house. It's not my favorite kind of amber. I can see why people like this. It's kind of very, it's almost like equally woody as it is equally ambery. It's also quite spicy. I'm starting to open up to this one, actually. I'm understanding what people like about it. But for me, I prefer the Supermassive version of this, which is definitely more amber. It's also fruity. This, to me, I think it's more of a showstopper. I think this has a musky edge to it that I think people, when they wear it and, you know, you start wearing it and kind of blends with your body chemistry, I think it creates a really nice sillage. But there's definitely a lot of resinous ambery touches in the base along with like musky notes too. There's definitely a concert going on out there. And there's some rumbling and thunderous bass behind the scenes. So if it gets really loud, I apologize. But there's a DJ set up back there somewhere. It's huge. It's big and very loud. But anyway, this is Ambre Superfluid from the house of Les Eaux Primordiales. Let me know if you're familiar with that one. Let's move on to the house of L'Orchestre Parfum next. This is Ambercello. Yeah, this is also super amber forward with the benzoin. I think it's a prominent note here. But there's also a freshness about this one and a lightly green. I think there's a lot of bergamot in this. So if you like the idea of amber, I think also the perfumers for both of these are the same. Totally different fragrances though. The Ambercello is more juicy because it has that citrus note in there. But yeah, we do have a ghost in here. Sometimes when I don't close that door, the door opens. This is an old building and apparently it's haunted. So I'm freaked out right now. But let's go back to Ambrcello. Ambrcello, yes, it's a fresher take on a resinous benzoin focused fragrance. And it's just different. It's not as warm and enveloping. It's just a bit more fun and playful and a bit more adventurous. I feel like the citrus that's in here gives it a more energetic vibe to the fragrance, even though it's kind of warm and resinous when it's drying down, because it's all benzoin in the base, and which creates the amber effect here. So that's Ambrcello. Next, one of the all-time favorite famous amber fragrances. This is Ambre Sultan from the house of Serge Lutens. One of the best for sure. And this is a benzoin amber. It also has other resins in the notes. There's probably some olibanum because it's a bit smoky. There's probably a little bit of myrrh. There's probably some labdanum in this, lightly vanillic. What's unique about this amber is the green aromatic herbs. I think there's oregano in this. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a challenge standing today with my shoes. My feet are sore. I don't know why. But yeah, this is super awesome. Serge Lutens is amazing. Really, really great. I wouldn't call this it is an amber bomb. I wouldn't call it a benzoin bomb. But the benzoin is pretty prominent. And what really makes this unique for me are the green notes, the herbs, like the oregano type notes in here, that really makes this stand out against other amber fragrances that features benzoin that are like amber focused. But it's a solid offering. Definitely doesn't go out of style. One of my very first amber fragrances that I purchased when I first got into doing videos on the channel, because I was obsessed with finding the next best amber, and that is definitely one of them. Let's move on to the house of Nuit Nomade. Next, it's Ambre Khanjar. This is a great amber. It's an underrated one from this house, but they did a great job on this. It's really super awesome. Very resinous. Very, very resinous. It's also dark and smoky somewhat. Not too much, but it does go there. Wow. There's definitely a very syrupy, molassesy edge to it. Smoky, spicy. It's a bit more dark and mysterious, unlike the previous one. The oregano with the previous one made it a bit more curious, like what? Why are they doing? Why are they adding that here? The way it's constructed, it makes it a little bit more dark and mysterious. There's also something sweet and honeyed coming through, but it's good. It's good. This brand is one of the best French houses out there. This, along with Les Eaux Primordiales, top 2 brands. There's a video on top 20 French houses on the channel that I highlight from the last 10 years. Go catch that video. You can learn about my top 20 favorite French houses. But yeah, Nuit Nomade, awesome house. Les Eaux Primordiales, awesome house. And yeah, check those fragrances out. But Ambre Khanjar is an amazing fragrance with benzoin as a note. But let's move on to the house of Van Cleef & Arpels. Ambre Imperial next. This is also a Quinton Biche creation from what I hear. This is also unlike anything that he's done. It's quite peppery, very resinous. So the benzoin is pretty prominent. It's powdery as well. But I think he did this before he did Ganymede. I remember Quinton Biche's name come up quite a bit. Like he did a lot of Mugler. Like one of his fragrances was Pure Tonka. So he also did Angel Muse, I believe, for Mugler. But yeah, this is not anything like what he's doing nowadays, but It's an amber that's also not similar to a lot of other ambers. Like it doesn't smell like Maître Parfumeur Gantier's amber. It doesn't smell like Grand Soir and things like that. It's its own unique thing. In the end, it is an amber. It's resinous, it's powdery, it's spicy, it's syrupy, but I would say it stands out on its own and not something I've smelled in another brand before, which makes it unique. Is it my favorite amber though? No, I wouldn't say that, but it is pretty darn good. That's Ambre Imperial by Van Cleef & Arpels. And the last fragrance in this category is Yves Rocher Sable Fauve. A cheapie, but definitely have to have some cheapies in the list. You can order these online. I don't see any Yves Rocher stores in United States, at least. I don't know if there are any. Maybe there's maybe one or two. I don't know. But these retail for, well, they were under 100, and they usually do like a 40% off sale or sometimes even 50% off sale. But for me, it's a more simplistic, resinous, benzoin, tonka kind of a combo, basically creating a kind of a warm glow amber, not super thick, but there's a syrupy quality about it, so kind of create a little bit of a stickiness. It's sweet but not super sweet, if that makes sense, but it's enjoyable. Sable Fauve. Also, I should say this version compared to the version that they first launched do have differences in smell. But I think this is the version that's smelling. That's why I'm highlighting this one, because the first version, I believe they removed, so I'm not highlighting that one anymore. Yeah, that's Sable Fauve from the house of Yves Rocher. Let me know if you're familiar with that one. Initially, somehow, the next two fragrances were left off, but I was shuffling around the fragrances for this video, and somehow these next two fragrances were left off, but I am adding them here, recording a day after I shot the initial video. But I wanted to talk about two more fragrances that I feel like are important in the Amber Benzoin section. First of which is Chanel's Coromandel. And I think it's a very prominent benzoin feature here along with the patchouli. And I think because of the benzoin, which is vanillic, giving you that white chocolate effect. It's one of the greatest modern amber benzoin fragrances. And you know, I had it in my list. I was shuffling it around and then somehow they fell off the list, which is crazy because I shot the video. Afterwards, I was thinking at home, I'm like, oh, I forgot Chanel. I forgot Chanel Coromandel. It's so important with the benzoin. But also, this is one of my all-time favorite fragrances from the house. It's so super sexy. It's a modern amber with a lot of benzoin. There's a lot of patchouli here. It's very, very creamy. There's incense and benzoin. It's a benchmark in the category, and I can't believe I left it off. But it is super, super awesome. Really great. I mean, if you love creamy patchouli, and in this case, typically we say chocolatey, chocolate cakey. Here we've got white chocolate effect. That is the effect we're getting with the benzoin. And it's usually when patchouli is blended or mixed with resins and amber and vanilla is when you get these kind of chocolatey effect. But in this case, like I said, we are getting the white chocolatey effect here. It's so super awesome. Really, really great. Definitely one of the best from Chanel. Are you guys a fan of Coromandel? I think, I mean, it's just, I think it's in kind of like, there is a little bit of a DNA there of Chanel, but I would say this is not one of the most Chanel DNA fragrances. I kind of associate this with a little bit of Coco Mademoiselle. I feel like the patchouli there is the same as here. But other than that, I don't consider it like true, like having that kind of aldehydic DNA. But again, definitely a benchmark in this category of benzoin fragrances. It's a masterpiece, I think. And given that I love patchouli so much, I have to feature it here because it features and has the feature of the benzoin in the fragrance with the patchouli. It might come off simplistic, but to me, it's super intense. The patchouli has great sillage. It's long-lasting. And the fact that it's all creamy, white chocolatey, even better. It's a little smoky. I feel like the incense that's in here is not super potent, but definitely worthy of mentioning here. So this is Coromandel from Chanel's Les Exclusives. And then this has to be mentioned as well. And this is a classic, recently rediscovered. I've done a shorts video on this one, and I also forgot this one because initially when I was doing this video, I had a section of classic fragrances. Then the classic fragrances, there was only like 5. Or, yeah, I think it was 5 or so. And this is Taboo. So when I decided to move the 5 fragrances into other categories, somehow they fell off. But Taboo by Dana, one of the early classics, and it's very balsamic, resinous, amber. It's historically significant with the usage of benzoin. There's also patchouli here. It's a little bit of hippie almost, like Nag Champa kind of comes to mind, but it's super ambery, very, very balsamic. It's very warm. It's spicy. And for a eau de cologne, shockingly good. And super, super cheap. Unbelievable how, I mean, it's a eau de cologne, very inexpensive. It's not a full 100 ml, it's 68 ml. But you can get that for around $20, even less, give or take. You have to have it in your collection if you are a fan of fragrances. Where did I put it? We've got so many fragrances here. Dana's Taboo is one of the best. And I'm surprised how great it is since it's so old. I mean, the formulation is still pretty solid compared to how other fragrances that came out much later than this, the formulations have completely gone bad. Like, not gone bad, like the formulations are bad because they don't really smell like what they used to. I'm not saying this is 100% perfect, but for what you get, it's awesome. So definitely check this one out. If you like warm ambers, resinous, balsamic ambers, kind of old school, you've got to try this. It's a given. You have to have it in your collection since it's also super duper cheap. All right, now we're going into the resinous, smoky, and animalic benzoin direction. You guys into that? So we're starting off with Acro's Smoke. So I've mentioned this story quite a bit. I first discovered the brand at Javoy in Paris in, I think like April or May of 2019. I liked the brand, and I think this was my favorite, but I decided to not buy anything then. Later that same year in the summer, I went to LA. I experienced them again, and I fell in love with this because the fragrances are created in a way that they're not super intense. So the heat was actually making the fragrances bloom and come alive further. And so I tried Smoke, and I tested it out, and I got out into the LA sun. It was summer. And then how I noticed the fragrance developed into what started out was very smoky and charred and burned into something warm and syrupy and ambery because it has benzoin. That is a note in here. And also in its dry down stage, it was hinting at tobacco vanille minus the smoke because this is super smoky. So it almost felt like it was a little bit of a different take on tobacco vanille. So I always feel like this can be nicely layered with tobacco vanille if you want to add some smoke to tobacco vanille because it doesn't have smoke. It's more of a leafy tobacco. But there's room with this fragrance and a lot of the Acro fragrances to do layering with. And so that's what I would do if you wanted to intensify tobacco vanille with that smoke. But for me, this is mostly about tobacco, that smoky note that's in here. I think it's birch tar or something like a birch note. And then it's got that ambery resinous benzoin note. And to me, it's one of the best. To me, it still smells great. I absolutely love Smoke. It's still my number one. And now it's smelling so good. My bottle's quite old by now, but it's no fresh notes. There's no citruses here. No, there's no floral notes. It's all darker, deeper, almost like base notes type notes. So the fragrance itself is smelling great. So if you haven't tried Smoke, please try it. I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorites, but it is quite smoky, so be warned. Let's move on to the house of Atelier d'Azur next. It's L'Armée du Desert. I decided to put this in this section. It's a resinous, smoky kind of style of fragrance. This is L'Armée du Désert. It's very golden, but it has smoky touches. And to me, this is kind of highlighting the desert's warm golden glow in perfume form. But it's a lot of benzoin. I feel like there's smoky, like frankincense or olibanum note in here. So it creates a little bit of a sweet resin and contrasted with smoky resin touch. And eventually it becomes ambery, and it's super gorgeous. So you're experiencing the desert dry, amber glow with a little bit of a church service effect happening with woods. Imagine you walking in the desert and you come upon a church service happening, and the smoke, the frankincense smoke is, wafting in the air. That's what you get with L'Armée du Désert. So that's Atelier des Ors, L'Armée du Désert. Then we're going to the house of Bogue Profumo. It's either Comme or Cum. What do you guys think? Comme, right? So yeah, this has a lot of ambery resin, but it's typical of Bogue fragrances. There's a lot going on here. It's quite busy. First of all, it reminds me a little bit of Tyrannosaurus Rex from the House of Zoologist, but it's in a different way. Sometimes when I smell Bogue Profumo fragrances, I'm a little confused. It's like pulling you into multiple directions, and I don't know where to focus on, because there's so much going on. So there's a lot of like green things happening in here. Green aromatic notes. For sure there's amber, there's spices in here. It's not super syrupy, it's dry, but there is also an underlying funk in there. And it's smoky. And the smoke in this is reminding me of the smoke in Tyrannosaurus Rex. So I feel like this is kind of related to T-Rex. Distant cousin. It's quite different out. It's out there. If you like T-Rex, I highly recommend you try that one though. I don't think I personally can wear T-Rex. It's not very easy, but I really admire it because, it's T-Rex, the kind of fragrance it is. It's quite out there. So yeah, I agree. So if you like T-Rex, definitely try Comme or Cum. All right, next, going to the house of Francesca Bianchi. It's Byzantine Amber. This is typical Francesca Bianchi. It's a lot of benzoin, but there's also leather, and the iris is here as well. It's quite dark, it's smoky, it's spicy, it's powdery. It's a dry one, and of course leathery, because it's quite leathery. It's a leathery benzoin amber. What's called Byzantine Amber. So I feel like wearing leather to church. Do people do that? But yeah, it features the Francesca Bianchi DNA quite prominently. I mean, if you're familiar with her fragrances, you can kind of tell this is her. Like lately, she's been doing some fragrances that don't remind you of the DNA, but this one does. And just typical of her fragrances, this is super potent, very intense. So that is Byzantine Amber. Next up, it's Imaginary Authors, Memoirs of a Trespasser. Who's familiar with this one? This is major benzoin. Benzoin is so prominent in this. You can actually smell it And it kind of reminds me of the Benzoin in Bois de Harmonie. But there's a lot of things going on here. There's lots of woods. There's definitely like a gum resin texture here. It's also kind of woodsy, almost like the forest, carpentry, like there's sawing happening of woods. So it almost smells dusty, woody, but it's definitely one of the best fragrances that Josh has created. To me, it's also, well, it's vanilla. I mean, it's vanillic, but it's not a gourmand. And I feel like the addition of the Benzoin makes it more of an amber vanilla rather than a gourmand vanilla. Because when you're smelling it, you kind of pick up something almost gourmandesque, but then it's more like resins and amber rather than like a sweet candy. It's definitely not the waffle comb fragrance he has. So yeah, it's got the notes breakdown back there. It's got Gaillac wood. All right, next we're going to the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian. This is Absolute Pour Le Soir. Yeah, this one is a masterpiece. And thankfully, it's now aged and macerated and maturated in here. Reminds me of the original. I don't have to pull my original anymore. This is, like I said, a masterpiece. I'm so glad they brought it back. Yes, it's not 100% identical, but it's so close now. For me, this is benzoin, honey, a little bit of rose, some musky funk, a little bit of sweaty cumin. Ah, it's good. It's so good. So, so good. I mean, if you can find the original, find the original. But the new version, if you have the luxury of just letting it macerate for 3 months, it's perfection. I mean, this has been macerating for 2 years. So the benzoin in this is just fantastic. But don't get me wrong, this is got a funk. It's very funky, like it's got animalic touches. So if you don't like that, I say stay away. And I think Absolute Pour Le Soir became Grand Soir. And even though they're both ambers, they're kind of like night and day different smell-wise. So I'm only highlighting this because it was recently relaunched. I only have the original version of this, but you can get the new one. And this is Cologne Pour Le Soir from Maison Francis Kurkdjian. So basically, Absolute Pour Le Soir, Cologne Pour Le Soir. If you thought this Absolute Pour Le Soir was too strong, too intense, you could have gotten the Cologne Pour Le Soir. I like both. Actually, I love both, but I do prefer the Eau de Parfum more than the Cologne Pour Le Soir. But it's nice to have this one. For me, for some strange reason, the Cologne Pour Le Soir is more smoky. It's more smoky and also a little bit more resin forward rather than amber forward. But definitely lighter, thinner, airier, and much easier to wear. I almost feel like also the animalics is not as strong, but you still have a funk there. Gorgeous scent. For me, hands down, it's the original, but I do need to test the new edition of this. But I'm just highlighting the fact that it's out and available, and it is benzoin, so it's quite resinous. If you're looking for something from MFK and you want benzoin, definitely check out both of those. I think you can't walk into a store and buy those. Maybe at the MFK store in Paris, if there's another one somewhere else. But you can order them online now, I believe, so get them from there. Let's move on to the house of Matière Première. This is Encens Suave. Yeah, this is darker because it's an incense. It's more churchy, but it also has that sweetness in the base. Yeah, this is more church for sure. It's also a slight bit baby cat-ish, but not quite. Very good. Very, very good. What is that? Is there like ambroxan in the base? It's almost like church incense, sweet benzoin resin, and ambroxan together. So very base heavy. Quite sexy. Very, very sexy. And I usually don't find incense to be sexy. And it's almost like, because I find benzoin to be quite awesome and delicious. And I feel like the addition of something ambroxan-like musky is adding to that layer of sexiness. Yum. So good. So, so good. Encens Suave. What you guys think? Let me know. Add a comment below. We're going to the house of ORIZA et LEGRAND one more time, but we have two back-to-back ORIZA et LEGRANDs. This is Empire des Indes. I think that's how you say it. And just keep in mind, I'm not a native French speaker. I should have learned. My grandmother spoke it. My father spoke it. My father spoke it. His mom spoke it, but I never learned. This to me is a gorgeous, sweet amber and very resinous. Whereas the Le Regent is more benzoin forward in the line of something like Benzoin Bohème or something like Bois d'Harmonie. This is more like, I would say, like Ambre Sultan, material and things like that. It's super spicy, very syrupy, powdery, of course resinous. There's vanillic notes in here as well. But it's nicely rounded, beautiful, gorgeous, enveloping kind of sweet, spicy amber. Really, really gorgeous. What do you guys think of this one? Have you guys heard of it? If you guys don't know ORIZA et LEGRAND, please check them out. They are so amazing. Awesome brand, awesome brand. And one of my very early ORIZA et LEGRAND loves, this is Rêve d'Océan. So Rêve d'Océan is definitely more church incense with resinous amber base. Oh yeah. This is like the Orthodox church I grew up in. But for sure, beneath all that smoke and resin, there's definitely sweetness, which is nice because, you know, sometimes smoky resins kind of get really cold and not warm. And for me, I like a lot of warmth. I like because they're more inviting, and cold fragrances tend to be uninviting to me. And incense I find to be cold, but amber I find to be warm. And even though incense is lit up, then it becomes warm. As a ingredient, the frankincense itself is a cold note. It's not a very warm note. For me here, the cold becomes warm, which is quite awesome. Very cozy. One of the best from the house, Rêve d'Océan, from the house of ORIZA et LEGRAND. You know how old this bottle is? This bottle is from 2014. Love that fragrance. All right, and then last but not least, in this category, we've got Une Nuit Nomade's Estrella de la Mañana. Yeah, in the base, we've got benzoin here. It creates an amber effect. There's a very smoky note, and I'm forgetting the name. It's not Styrax, is it? No, not Styrax. It's vanilla. There's a little bit of chocolate. There's that benzoin, but there is birch. There's birch tar here, or birch wood, because it makes a very, very smoky, almost like charred, burned, dark smoke. So it's almost like you're cooking vanilla and cocoa or chocolate together and you're about to burn it. It's really good, and it's one that I actually enjoy wearing because the sweetness from the vanilla, the chocolate or cocoa, and the benzoin really adds a nice contrast where you might be challenged with the smoke, but in the end, the vanilla and the sweeter notes are kind of winning out, you know? And that smoke is just creating this effect that gives the fragrance a charred smokiness. It's so good. Really, really awesome scent from the house. One of the best from the house, in fact. Let me know if you're a fan of this. Estrella de la Mañana. Super, super awesome. Absolutely love that. All right, we only have 2 more categories left, but the next category is Gourmand and Vanilla Benzoin. Yay, we're getting into some sweet territory next. And this is the sweetest, creamiest, maybe powderiest, but very addictive side of benzoin. First of which is Celine's Zuzu. Yum. This is more like an, yeah, there's a very creamy, vanillic, ambery effect happening here. Makes it leaning to the gourmand direction. But super awesome scent. Again, I always feel like Celine fragrances are a bit on the weak side, but for me, this is heavenly. The combination of the notes are super delicious. Resins, of course, the benzoin is a resin, the vanilla, creamy. It's definitely powdery too. And there's a little bit of a reminder of Shalimar in this, for sure. And also a little bit of like a light take on Le Lion. Who's a fan of Zuzu? What's going on with Celine fragrances, by the way? Are they doing anything lately? Their creative director left. Who's the creative director there now? Let's move on to something from left field. This is an interesting fragrance that is highlighting benzoin, but it's different. This is Claudio Zucca's Benjoin en Fleur. Very different fragrance and totally unique. And it's almost like bubblegum. Floral notes, fruity notes, turns into a bubblegum. This is like bubblegum to the max. If you like the smell of bubblegum, this is the fragrance you gotta try. But it does feature benzoin or Benjoin prominently, and it's in the name, as you can see. I would say this is a very fun fragrance. It's very interesting that it smells like bubblegum, but I think it's the fruits and the flowers mixed together and that kind of sticky resin in the base that creates that bubblegum. It's almost like me as a kid chomping on like 3 or 4 pieces of fruity bubblegum in my mouth. Chomp, chomp, chomp. That is so fun. It really smells like bubblegum. Benjoin en Fleur from the house of Claudio Zucca. All right, D'Orsay's Tonka Hysteria. Yep, definitely a top-notch benzoin resin amber focused fragrance with spices and smoky notes in there as well. Oh, love this. Super loving. There's definitely something fizzy Coca-Cola-esque happening here. And as I was mentioning earlier, resins like myrrh and benzoin kind of create that. So imagine drinking a spicy, smoky cola. The fact that this is Tonka Hysteria also has a slight nutty bitterness. Almondy. But wow, it's so good. This is one of my favorite fragrances for a long time. It's a Jordi Fernandez creation, and it's a good one because his fragrances tend to go Middle Eastern. This one doesn't. I absolutely love it. Who's a fan of that one? Let me know. add a comment below. Let's go to the house of Francesca Bianchi once again. It's Angel's Dust. I wanted to, yeah, this was a bit of a challenge trying to find a place for it. I decided to put it here, same as the next one. I think it fits nicely here. It's powdery. I mean, wow, you can smell the benzoin, but it's nicely wrapped with that Francesca Bianchi DNA where it becomes super powdery. It's not very leathery today in this one, unlike the Byzantine, which is super leathery. This is more like, almost like heliotrope or mimosa and iris together with that Francesca Bianchi DNA. Yeah, she's got that trademark DNA. Powdery iris. There's definitely that kind of creamy effect happening as well. Because I think the iris or orris she uses does come off a bit creamy. It's good though. All right, next we're going to talk about one of my favorite fragrances. This is L'Heure Bleue from the house of Guerlain. This juice was so light before. Look at the color. I think I bought this when I was in Edinburgh at the Harrods Beauty store there, and it was clear. The fact that it has resins is aging and making the color darker, which is super awesome. This is, again, one of my favorite fragrances from the house of Guerlain. Reminds me of expensive soap. But you know what? As it's aging and maturing, the amber part of it is coming out. And it's a given. It's got a lot of benzoin. Oh, God. It smells like an expensive soap. And you're lathering with it. And that smell of powder, old classic scents together. The word Camay comes to mind. I don't know why. Was there a soap called Camay? It's not Ivory or Dove. It's for sure Camay. Wow, it's become so amazing. The aging is just made this fragrance just so gorgeous. Now remember, Guerlain's launching a L'Heure Bleue flanker. They've added marine notes in it. What the heck? They're modernizing L'Heure Bleue. This stuff is amazing. This is super fantastic. It's so good. So I've mentioned it in the past about this fragrance. It reminds me of my grandmother's bathroom. She had toiletries in there, old Guerlain products and things like that. It's almost to the point of orgasmic how great that smells. And the aging process has made it smell even better. And the ambery effect has come through, shined through even further. Because that bottle, look at the color. It's just gotten golden. And if I go back in time and look at my feature of this fragrance in videos, I don't think the juice will be that color. Anybody want to tackle? Go and check it out, as I don't have time to search right now. But let's move on with the fragrances. And again, just to reiterate, I featured that in this category because I didn't have a category for it. It's not necessarily gourmand and vanilla, but since I'm featuring powdery fragrances, I decided to put it here. This one's definitely more in line with this category. This is Spirituous Double Vanille from the house of Guerlain once again. And this juice has also gotten dark. Look, it's kind of like plum juice or wine or something. And this is the ultimate and boozy cooking vanilla style vanilla. But it has benzoin. It has to have benzoin because it adds that resinous depth in the base. Oh God, it's so good. It's so boozy, and that's what I like about it. And for me, my very first experience with vanilla as a bit more of an older youngster, I was taking cooking classes and I was cooking. So I was using quite a bit of vanilla, cooking vanilla. So I always really loved that smell. And this is like perfectly authentic smelling, like cooking vanilla, because it was always boozy. I'd always take a tiny little taste of it. Nothing I would drink, but it's more about the smell, and the smell of it totally reminds me of Spirituous Double Vanille. But it's spicy, it's a bit floral, it's syrupy, it's resinous and ambery. Gorgeous vanilla, super gorgeous vanilla. I would also say there's like under there's some like light chocolatey effects happening too. Gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance. All right, next, we've got a designer fragrance. This is Jean Paul Gaultier's Le Male Elixir. Yeah, they have updated the original into more of an amber. Although I think it was kind of ambery before. This is more of like amber resins, vanilla, tonka, benzoin, with the mint and lavender that is signature. So it still has a little bit of that barbershoppy DNA. The lavender and the mint does that, but once you get past that, it's all warmth and resins and amber and sticky and sweet. And it's also super intense and long-lasting. Very, very long-lasting. Yum. Great scent. I like it that it's so new and different from the original, but it still reminds you of the original a little bit. So that's Jean Paul Gaultier Le Male Elixir. Who's a fan? All right, we've got two back-to-back KLE fragrances. We've got Invite Only Amber 23. This is also a little bit in line with something like Wajan or the Ambre d'Alexandrie from the House of Boucheron, maybe a little bit of Angel Share, maybe a little bit of Ambre Narguilé, and maybe like 1,000 other fragrances. But to me, this is more like cherried take on it. Cherry, something fruity, and also boozy. A little bit floral too, I think. But it's super gorgeous. I take it back. It reminds me of Wajan, but I think it's a little bit more distant than the Ambre d'Alexandrie from the House of Boucheron. But it's sweet, sticky, syrupy, ambery, resinous. Yeah, very, very resinous in the base. There's some woods in there, and I think some light musks and things like that. So that is Invite Only Amber 23 from KLE. And the next KLE fragrance happens to be the Wedding Velvet Santal 35. This also features benzoin, and it clearly is marked in the back there. So this is part of the wedding series. There's the Silk Santal and the Velvet Santal. This is the Velvet Santal. This is woody, spicy, resinous, and ambery. But there's also a creamy layer there. The fragrances, both of the fragrances in the wedding series are about sandalwood. The other one is a bit more champagne-y, fizzy, and musky. This one is floral, musky as well, but lots of ambery resin here with the benzoin. It's quite good. I'm going to spray this one on this hand. It does have those very interesting dark lines going across. Yeah, this is super creamy. I think the fact that the sandalwood is very creamy and the benzoin also has that kind of a syrupy, resinous effect, ambery effect, it creates a really great combo. It smells great on skin. Really, really wonderful. So that is the Wedding Velvet Santal 35. And up next, we're going to the house of Masque Milano. This is Tango. Another fragrance created by Cécile Zarokian. Does it remind you of material by any chance? Let me know. It's pretty darn good amber, I have to say. Also pretty dark juice, so be warned. It might stain your clothing. It's super smoky. It's got a little funk too. The material didn't have that funk. This one does. It's almost like the funk she put in Silver Oud from Amouage. But it's very, very faint, so it's not super strong. But in the end, it's kind of like material, but I feel like it's a little bit woody, and it's also a little bit musky. More woody than material, but a really darn good amber here. Really, really great. Tango. What you think of this one? Cécile Sorokian does good ambers, I have to say. Up next, going to the house of Mercedes-Benz, it's Club Black. So the EDP was MYRRH, not Benzoin, but apparently the EDT, which is this, is Benzoin. But once again, kind of sort of like the La Destination, which is La Réunion. Sort of similar, not as creamy as that. That one's super creamy, but I feel like the vanilla is kind of similar. And this is also on the dry, a little powdery side. But once again, super gorgeous vanilla with benzoin resin. I mean, this is so good. It's so inexpensive, about $50 for 100 ml. It's a male targeted release, so it's also kind of very unisex, I think. But if you're a budget conscious person, I would highly recommend that for a great woody, dry, resinous, ambery vanilla. Super good. Mercedes-Benz Club Black. Then we're going to the house of Nichane. It's ANNICK. Yeah, another Cécile Sorokian creation. She does a lot of great work. This is a very fresh, zingy, spicy take on vanilla. There's a citrusy edge about it as well. And of course, sandalwood in the base and benzoin too, to create that amber effect, resinous effect. But I love this. This is dreamy, super awesome. For a while, it reminded me a little bit of Dries Van Noten by Frederic Malle. I think the sandalwood for me was a bit stronger before, and so I kind of connected it with that fragrance. It doesn't remind me as much, but I feel like if I strip away the citruses and the fresh spices, like the cardamom and the ginger that's in here, it might give me a little bit more of that Dries Van Noten effect. But currently, I don't get it as much. But it's definitely one of the best from Nichane, and also one of the best creations from Cécile. So yeah, Nichane's ANNICK. Super awesome scent. Check it out if you don't know it. And we've got... Yeah, Parfums de Marly's Wajan. So yeah, we've got Wajan, we've got a few others that are kind of similar. The Kayali Invite Only Amber. They're all their own unique takes on something similar. This is kind of sweet and honeyed, also warm, spicy, lightly rosy, a little bit rose. And then, of course, the benzoin amber in the base. To me, it acts like baklava, like honey drizzled on baklava. So it's a bit gourmandesque. It's also a little bit nutty honeyed, because it has the tonka in here, acting a little bit like almonds. But it's super delicious, really yummy. It's been a while since I smelled it. And today, the bitter almondy effect of the tonka is coming through quite a bit, making it smell yum. Super yum. That's Wajan. Are you guys familiar with that? And then my very empty bottle of Rocha Mustache. Very empty bottle of it. I do have a bottle of it somewhere. I'll pull that out soon. This does have a lot of benzoin in the base for sure. but it also has a lot of other notes, fresh notes, earthy notes up top. Like patchouli is prominent here. Yeah, it's quite earthy. When you first spray it, there's a blast of something spicy. I feel like there's a little bit of greenness in here as well. And then eventually it develops into the earthiness of the patchouli, and then drying down to woody amber resin thing with the benzoin. Very unique smell, although it does remind me of Tuxedo from YSL. Who's a fan of this one? It's not a super warm fragrance. There's a freshness about it, which is throwing me off a little bit because, you know, benzoin is a warm resinous note, but it's not acting like super duper warm and resinous. Let's move on to the House of 2. This is Dates Delight. Dates are becoming awesome for me as a note in fragrances. This is one of the first to highlight it prominently. And as I mentioned, dates kind of takes on the effect of something ambery fruity, but not necessarily super fruity, because I just had some dates before shooting this video, by the way. So the texture comes off a little bit ambery, and then I don't think it has a very pronounced fruitiness, but it blends really well with ambery fragrance, like ambery notes, to create a very ambery, slightly fruity leaning fragrance. And that's what I like about this. This is also quite powdery. Like, let's say like dates, it's not like apples, it's not like pineapple, it's not like mangoes. It's different. It's a different kind of fruit. And you can totally tell that here. It really stands out that way. So that is 2, or previously known as the House of Oud, and it's Dates Delight. Up next, it's Trudon's 45 Degrees. Yes, this one does have a lot of benzoin. Benzoin is a really, really great note, as I keep saying. And for me, this is Benzoin Vanilla Honey Balm. And it's so yummy too. So yummy. This, to me, the texture of this fragrance acts like the bubblegum texture. Like you can pull on it, it stretches. Kind of acts like that. But wow. This, every time I smell this, I'm just intoxicated by how great it smells. The honey vanilla thing together with the benzoin, match made in heaven, the way Jan Bosnier did it. I can't get enough of the way this smells. It's so yummy. And I used to say it smells like bubblegum. I think it's more the texture, although there is something lightly fruity happening in here, and I don't know where that's coming from, but I feel like there's something bubblegummy happening, and I think it's that kind of chewy, kind of stretchy texture that is happening when I'm smelling it. That's how it smells. So good. Really, really awesome. Trudon's 45 Degrees, top notch. If you don't have it, please get it, because it rocks. I love it. And then last but not least in this category, we've got Zoologist Perfumes B. B from Zoologist Perfumes. It's super floral, super powdery, also resinous, ambery, honeyed. Wow. The fragrance has gotten really intensified, maturated, and almost butterscotchy. Like, it's gotten thick, dense, and imagine you're just drizzling this very thick caramel butterscotch thing all over apples. I'm not saying this smells like apples. I'm just visualizing how it's like flowing and covering up the fruit. That's how sticky, gooey this is acting. But there's a lot of flowers in there. There's yellow flowers. It's super powdery, and it's very, very honeyed. Gorgeous scent. Zoologist Perfumes B. That's the last fragrance in this category. All right, and last but not least, we've got the woody benzoin category, and this is where benzoin enriches woods rather than amber. So yeah, so benzoin is used quite a bit here, and we're going to the house of Amouage. First, we've got 3 back-to-back Amouage fragrances, and the first of which is Outlands, once again from Cécile Zarokian. She's got quite a few fragrances in this video. I guess she likes to use benzoin. What do you guys think? And Outlands, I've recently rediscovered. It is so good and sexy on skin. Oh my god, it's good. It's super fresh, spicy, very potent and intense, super long lasting. It's got warmth in the base. There's also like the green aromatics and green fresh spices, but it's got patchouli and benzoin, like runs the show. Wow. There's definitely like a camphor vibe, but I think it's the cardamom that's doing that. I think there's plenty of cardamom. To me, cardamom has this kind of almost eucalyptus-y camphor medicinal smell or taste. And I think it's really pronounced in this fragrance. But woods, earthy notes like patchouli, amber in the base. Lovely fragrance, super intense. So that is Outlands from Amouage. I'm sorry I started off with that, but I was supposed to start with this. This is Boundless. I got excited with Outlands, and I saw Outlands, Bound. Confusing. So Boundless actually launched along with Material from Amouage. Boundless is woods, plum, and amber. It's spicy, slightly boozy, but slightly boozy. And I think it's the plums that's creating that slight booziness. I don't know, for some reason, sometimes plums does that for me, which is kind of cool. But there's woods and spices here, as I said, and then there's also the amber resin benzoin thing happening quite a bit. Yeah, I'd forgotten about this one. It's a nice one. It's not a super exciting offering, but it does the job. Definitely has the smell of purple, and I don't know if that's subconscious or if I'm seeing the bottle, but it's the plum. And typical with other Amouage fragrances, you've got a little bit of smoke in there. Are you guys a fan of Boundless? Amouage Boundless. Let me know. Add a comment below. And the last Amouage fragrance is Reflection 45. I was going back and forth if I wanted to feature this one here. I decided to feature it. And even though the benzoin is not super potent, I feel like this fragrance is super ambery. Like it's taking Amouage's Reflection Man into more of an ambery resinous direction. That's why I decided to put it here. But it still has its signature trademark of powdery floral notes like jasmine and orange blossom, I believe, are prominent here. And it really stands out against woods and spices and heavy resins. So it creates more of an ambery experience, I think, in comparison to the original. So it's a lot more super intensely dense. So it acts very resinous, and that's why I decided to feature it here. It does have a pretty prominent feature of benzoin, but it's not like some of the other fragrances I've spoken about today. What are your thoughts? This is an extrait de parfum concentration version of Reflection Man. It's Reflection 45 from the House of Amouage. Are you guys a fan of that one? Let me know what you think. Do you get the benzoin or the ambery effect in that one as much as other fragrances? Do add a comment below. Let's move on to the next fragrance. We're going to the House of Atelier Materi. This is Ambre Papier. Ambre Papier is amber paper. To me, it's very saffron forward. But there's definitely a sticky resinous amber thing happening. Wow, it's gorgeous though. It's darker, very woody. I think there's also papyrus in this, because there's a dark smoky effect happening, but very woody. Wow, it's pretty gorgeous. You can tell it's also an extrait. It's deeper, much deeper. Doesn't have a thinness about it. So that is Ambre Papier from the house of Atelier Materi. And then up next, we're going to the house of Berdu, Maison Berdu. It's Matahari di Bali. This is a recent pickup in one of my discount fragrances videos. And I bought it, blind buy. I hadn't smelled this one. It was a more recent one. And it has Cedrat as a note, Benzoin as a note. Benzoin is pretty prominent, and also vetiver. Off the top, it's a bit citrusy, fresh, woody, but then it becomes ambery as it's drying down, resinous with the benzoin. But I feel like it's simplistic, not super complex. It also has some light green touches, and maybe that's coming from the citrus note that's in here, the Cedrat note. And I think maybe mixed with the vetiver, it's creating a slight green effect. But easy to wear, woods, amber, and citrus. Simplistic, as I said. It kind of reminds me of the bottle for Salvador, Brazil, but it's not. So this is Matahari de Bali. I don't get the connection. Well, I don't get the connection to the Bali, the fragrance itself, but I guess I don't have to. And then up next, going to the house of Bon Parfumeur again. This is 303. This one is pimento, pink pepper, and benzoin. Yeah, it becomes a spicy, peppery amber. Very intensely spicy here. Because the piment and also the pimento and the pink pepper just make a very, very spicy effect. And also I feel like the fact that it has the spicy notes, the pepper and then benzoin together does create a slight fizzy effect. Almost like a cola, a spicy cola. It's not one of my all-time favorites from the house, but I kind of like it. So the piment, is that the allspice? I think that's what it is. It's kind of acting super warm, spicy. I mean, pink pepper to me, I feel like is more of a fresh spice, but there's some warmth here. I mean, the resin is definitely warmth. I mean, the benzoin is definitely warm, but it's creating like there's something in here that's familiar smelling. And every time I smell this, it reminds me of something that I smelled before, and I can't pinpoint what it is. Wow. So that's 303 from the House of Bon Parfumeur. Let me know if you're familiar with that. And then we've got BDK's Stellar Silk. This is one of the more recent Absolute Parfums from the house. It's my favorite of the ones he's created. Definitely very woody, vanillic and benzoin forward as well. But it's a nice combination of pretty intense woods, very deep and dense, along with kind of a syrupy vanilla, and then the kind of ambery resinous benzoin that's in here. So it's kind of like you like woods more than vanilla, and you want some sweetness, you want some amber, vanilla, and woods together, maybe some light spices and things like that coming in. It does have a little bit of a Middle Eastern twist to it also. So that is BDK's Stellar Silk. Are you guys a fan? Let me know, add a comment below. And then we've got Goldfield & Bank's Desert Rosewood for a lot of benzoin with the rosewood note. The very first fragrance I ever spoke about on the channel from the house of Goldfield & Banks. Yeah, for sure, we've got ambery notes in here. And I think the benzoin is warming up the rosewood note. So it's fresh, it's spicy, it's very woody, and of course ambery. And then the benzoin is running the show with the ambery effect. I think the brand's released a lot more interesting fragrances as of late, but I think it was a pretty good start for the brand. But I don't think they really came on the scene until Pacific Rock Moss launched. But this is a pretty solid offering. You can tell it's some of their earlier work. So that is Desert Rosewood from the house of Goldfield & Banks for the benzoin feature with woods. And I'm ending this list with a bang because it's an amazing fragrance. My favorite fragrance from the house of Gritti, it's Muscaria. So taking the idea of something like Musk Ravageur into an intense resinous direction with the addition of a lot of benzoin. Oh my God, this is reminding me a little bit of Bois d'Harmonie. Oh my God, it is. So it's almost like Musk Ravageur, Bois d'Harmonie, and some light musky funk. That is super, super amazing. This came on the scene at the discounters. I bought mine for $149, I think. And I was telling everybody about it. In fact, I featured it in a few of my discount videos. It's not at the discounters anymore. If you guys got it, and I'm hoping you loved it because I absolutely adore this. Best fragrance that they've ever launched, I think. I just recently ordered the vanilla that came out with this one. I'm waiting for it. But for now, Gritti's Muscaria is almost like taking the original, more animalic Musk Ravageur, marrying it with Bois d'Harmonie, and adding a little bit of resins and intense smokiness or something. But it is to die for. Best thing they've created, hands down. I absolutely love it. So this might be for an acquired taste, but it's definitely something I really adore. Let me know if you guys are a fan of this. Are you enjoying this? Do you enjoy? Did you get it? Did you get it for that deal? I mean, it's totally worth whatever the suggested retail price is. I highly recommend you guys seek this one out. Get a sample somehow because it is fantastic. It's to die for, delicious. Anyway, that's the last fragrance here with the woody benzoin category. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. What do you think of this list of benzoin fragrances? Are you a fan of this note? If you haven't discovered it yet, start looking in, digging around. And, you know, this is a great list of benzoin-focused fragrances. For me, the best way to learn about fragrances, maybe pick up some... I actually should say I bought some essential oil, but I hated the smell of it, so I decided not to feature it here. I also bought some of the resin. It's also turned out to be blah, so I'm not featuring it, but I've had good luck with buying essential oils in the past with trying to identify certain notes in fragrances. So I think there are some fragrances you'll really notice the smell of the benzoin. Once you kind of like study it and notice it, you can kind of pick it up in other fragrances. So if you're new to benzoin, this is a great list for you to, you know, start checking out some of these fragrances and get your nose on it. But let me know your thoughts on the fragrances that I discussed with you today. What's missing from the list of benzoin fragrances out there in the world? Let me know. I love this note, so I wanted to explore more. But this is a pretty big list of benzoin fragrances, so there's a lot of variety here that you can search around and find and study and learn all that good stuff. But thanks so much for watching today. Do add some comments below. Interact with this video, I should say. Let me know your favorite benzoin fragrances. Let me know the ones that you heard about today here that you want to get your nose on. Interact with other people. Like it. Share it. Like this video. Share this video. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Click that bell icon. And also, as I said, I highly recommend you check out the Papier, the Harmony as well. I will tag as many of these fragrances as I can so you can take advantage and get them. Anyway, see you guys later. Bye-bye.